No house, no kids. No surprise, that's one of the takeaways from startling new statistics showing Australia's birth rate has plummeted. Official figures show the fertility rate has hit a new low of 1.5 babies per woman.
Only Tasmania saw a slight uptick, with a lack of affordable housing seen by some experts as a key driver behind this decline right across the country. Let's bring in Myles Houlbrook-Walk in Sydney with all the details. Myles, so where in the country are we seeing the sharpest drop in birth rates?
Well, Michael, the sharpest is seen in New South Wales and the Northern Territory. Now, the Northern Territory, a very small jurisdiction, so small fluctuations can reflect large decreases and increases. But in New South Wales, it's the case that almost half of the 13,000 fewer babies can be attributed to a drop-off in the largest state in the country. And if we look at long-run data, we also see that while we've reached our lowest level, this has been a downward trend that's been fairly consistent right about since the baby boom of the late 1950s and early 60s, where the fertility rate was once 3.55 babies per woman. Now, as you noted right off the top, just 1.5 per woman. We spoke to some people on the streets here in Sydney where we're seeing a range of issues and reasons offered up around why people might want to have smaller families, as well as one young man who wants to have a larger family despite the cost of living crisis. Have you ever thought about having a family?
Maybe once I'm 24, about that age, I want to have a family, start up a family.
And what's driving that factor? Are you keen to have several kids, or are you worried about having multiple kids?
Maybe I want a big family, maybe 3 to 5 kids, hopefully.
So there's one young man there speaking about how he wants to have a larger family, but generally, Michael, if we look at the data and other people we've spoken to, that's not really the outlook of the nation. Now, this presents real challenges for the government, who want to have a higher birth rate and a higher fertility rate to make sure there's balances around age demographics, and the long-running problem of an ageing population in Australia isn't one that gets out of hand. So clearly a long road to turn around these issues.
OK, Myles, thank you.
Australia will send almost an entire fleet of soon-to-be retired tanks to Ukraine to bolster the country's fight against Russia's invasion. Political reporter Isabel Rowe joins us from Parliament House in Canberra. Good morning, Isabel. Just what's prompted this decision?
Well, this comes after a request from the Ukrainian government more than a year ago now for help from Australia to send its M1A1 soon-to-be retired tank fleet to Ukraine. So the Australian government has announced this morning that we will be sending 49 of these tanks to Ukraine. They've never been used in combat in Australia, and Australia is getting a new fleet, which are being phased in at the moment. This is a bit of a change of heart from the government. Earlier in the year, the Defence Minister Richard Marles said that this was not on the agenda, but there have been repeated requests, including from the Australian ambassador to Ukraine, for help in this particular area. This latest package is worth $245 million, but most importantly, the government says it will assist Ukraine in pushing back Russia 18 months after Russia invaded Ukraine. Now, the Defence Industry Minister, Pat Conroy, is in Brussels with other ministers for a NATO meeting, and he says he'll brief his Ukrainian counterpart directly about this there.
With its illegal invasion, Russia is trying to take us back to a world where spheres of interest reign, where only great powers are truly sovereign and their actions are above the law. This is not a world where the people of Australia or the people of the United Kingdom would thrive. That is why we are so committed to supporting Ukraine to end the conflict on its terms.
There will be a lot of the vehicles restored and sent whole, but we understand there is also the option for Ukraine to request some of the older vehicles to be sent over and taken apart to be used for spare parts.
Isabel Rowe, thank you very much for that update.
A bill to change South Australia's abortion laws has been narrowly defeated in Parliament's upper house, 10 votes to 9. The bill would have required women seeking a pregnancy termination after 27 weeks and 6 days to deliver the baby alive. Opponents said the laws would have interfered with women's healthcare.
Canberra Liberals leader Elizabeth Lee has apologised after she was caught on camera giving the finger to a journalist after a press conference. Ms Lee was speaking to media after an election debate and has since said the gesture was unacceptable and unbecoming. She says it was because she was frustrated with the journalist and denies it was to do with the pressure of the election campaign.
I'm not excusing my behaviour, but unfortunately on this occasion, in a moment of frustration, I let my emotional response get the better of me.
Domestic violence campaigners say social media has worsened harassment of women. New data from the Australian Bureau of Statistics shows that 1 in 5 women has been stalked, mostly by male intimate partners. The CEO of the group Full Stop Australia, Karen Bevan, says mobile technology and online platforms allow stalkers to maintain contact even after relationships end.
The mysterious balls that washed up on Sydney's Coogee Beach have been identified as tar balls, potentially linked to an unknown oil spill. Coogee Beach and Gordons Bay remain closed. Randwick Council received test results showing the material is a petroleum-based product, but the exact source remains under investigation.
Marine scientists say there's a risk of more whales becoming entangled off Sydney's coast in the wake of yesterday's rescue. Disentanglement teams freed a humpback calf off the northern beaches yesterday afternoon, just 2 months after a similar operation in Sydney Harbour. The annual migration of whales is expected to continue for a few more weeks.
Let's take a quick look at the global markets, and you can see that the futures are up. That's following a rise on Wall Street, following better than expected profit reports from big companies. The Aussie dollar is buying 65.55 US cents, or 65, sorry, I can't even read that. These figures are so small. And gold and Brent crude are both up.
And a police officer in Ohio trying to contain a giant runaway pumpkin got more than he bargained for after getting squashed. The Bay Village Police Department says no officers were harmed, which is good news, and once backup arrived, the pumpkin was returned to its owner with plenty of time before those trick-or-treaters hit the streets on Halloween. Fast approach.